D'être avec nous aujourd'hui. I leave the floor really quickly to, this talk is going to be in English. Kamiar is coming from London. Thank you so much, Kamiar Maleki, for being here with us today at Asia Now. Thank you, Sylvain Levy, for being here as well, and Karen Levy for being here. So it's a collector's talk today. We're super happy about that. And it's about having a look at how to collect in the future and what's maybe other route, other paths, what's beyond the traditional white cube. That's a program. So thank you. It's all about new era, digital age, VR, and perhaps some new perspective about collecting. So I leave the floor to you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. First, I'm very honored to be here between the present and the future of collecting. I'm just the past and the present. So to be with you and my daughter makes me a little bit younger, I shall say, in terms of collecting. I think that what we would like to do today is perhaps to go into what I shall call uncharted territories. I think that just in a few words why we are here, as why I'm at least here, is that when we begin the collection in 2005, the Chinese collection, before we were collecting for 34 years, Chinese collection we begin in 34 years old collecting, which means 20 years before. We decided to open the collection to the public. So it was a choice to open the collection to the public. And since we wanted to reach the Chinese public, we opened the collection with the digital tool, and especially internet. And just I want to remind you something very interesting. 2005 is the first video on YouTube. 2005. The smartphone is 2007. So 2005 was the beginning of, I shall say, using internet as opening new spaces. And what we're going to discuss today with Kamiar and Karen is how today art has gone beyond the traditional white cube. And we will go through the digital world, but we will go even further. We will go to what is today the fourth industrial revolution, in which we are inside. And in this fourth industrial revolution, there is something called virtual reality. So this is a little bit what I think we wanted to share. Kamiar has a great experience in the digital world, using the digital tools, but also, I shall say, thinking on how to connect people with the digital tools. So this is a little bit where I would like to go. Then after I will show some slides, I'll let you explain a little bit what your...
So thank you for having me, first of all. It's great to be back here at Asia Now. What a fabulous fair. Just to give you a bit of background on where we come from. I come from an Iranian origins, having grown up all over the world after the revolution, obviously. So my family started collecting over 40 years ago, started collecting old masterpieces, venturing onto post-war contemporary art and supporting very much the young emerging art world. And I myself have been collecting for over 15 years now, mostly emerging pre-primary, so straight out of college, and looking at ways on how to support the younger artists out there. 3 years ago, I actually curated my first show, which was called #Abstract, which was the first way we looked, bought, and researched art on Instagram today, and it was pretty much the first show worldwide which dealt with this matter as such. And you know, Instagram is such an amazing tool where, you know, artists are learning how to sell, how to show, how to promote, how to see the world is becoming ever smaller, and you know, it's such an exciting new way to look at art. So, I mean, that was a very brief introduction into my role, and also now this year I became the director of an art fair myself in Turkey. So we also look very much into how we can use technology and video into explaining and educating the art audience more about how to collect.
You want to add something?
I think everything is said almost. Hello and thank you for having us at Asia Now, and thank you, Alexandra, for putting this platform of conversations with different subjects. I'm actually Karen Levy. I'm the daughter of Sylvain Levy, and I'm
her father.
I've been working in the art world for 10 years, and I've lived in Shanghai. At the beginning, I was studying in Paris, and then decided to have an experience in the art world before joining the collection and helping the collection. So it's really interesting because right now we're really working on the collection with the digital, and more in London, where I'm based, we are experiencing how to show the collection, I think. And we are doing right now at the same time also a festival where we're going to screen for the first time artist videos on the big screen in a movie theater. So all of these projects are made together. And I'm also the director and founder of the Art of the Century, an art event agency, which is very close to Asia Now for all the conversation and collectors. So we can start.
To launch the debate, the discussion, I would like to show you some slides to make you understand perhaps what are the issues today. Very briefly. How does it work?
Welcome to the digital.
Let us say that
Do as I say, not as I do.
Okay. First, I wanted to show you how the experience of art has changed. This is how art was presented in 1990. This is 2017. But what you must know that today people discover art more on Instagram than in museum. So this is something very important. Today, Instagram is one of the most visited space in terms of the art world. Let's continue. A very interesting numbers. If you look at these numbers, the Met, they have 6 million visitors, physical visitors. They have 29 million visitors on the website and 92 million visitors on Facebook. It brings the question, what is a museum today? What is a museum today? That's another question. And we'll try to debate on this idea, what is a museum today? The other point, which is I think very interesting, is there was a survey on how people today perceive art and why do they go to art events. Most of them, 81%, is to have fun. So, is the museum still the best place to discover art, or it can be in many different types of public spaces? So this is another issue. And you can see that the museums are becoming less and less museums and more shopping malls or restaurants. This is something also very interesting, is that today art is considered as an entertainment and art is part of the entertainment industry. This is also very important for the way I think we have to look at the world today. And I think that the last one, which is very interesting before going into virtual reality, is that 34% of the people are afraid to go to a museum. That's also important. Art is not democratized because people are afraid of going there, because today the image given by art is through artwork of $100 million, and it's vehiculated by a certain type of culture, which is not the culture of everybody. So just to advance and to come to virtual reality, what is the future? One of the future will be a museum, portable and personal. And it brings us to virtual reality. And this is what we have done with DSL. We have created the first virtual reality museum. I'll just show you some. We have decided to go into virtual reality with DSL. And what we have done, we have created a virtual reality museum. It's a space of 200 meter, 40 meter high. And inside we are showing most of our biggest works, installation of 40 meters, paintings of 6 meters by 15 meters. And so you can walk inside like walking in a museum, but also you can fly, because the advantage of virtual reality, you don't have any physical constraints. So we have different types of moving inside. And this is a way how we are today opening a new space with virtual reality. Kamiar, what do you think that today the digital experience is as valuable as the real experience? And coming back to the museum, when you have 92 million people visiting a Facebook page, what is the value in terms of the metric of success for a museum between a digital visitor and a physical visitor? Because today, all the museums, the metric of success is only based on the foot passage, not on the digital one. So what is for you, your opinion on this, I shall say, new types of...
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, because, as I said, as of this year, I became a director of an art fair, so my vision has slightly changed a little bit, obviously, because I try to encourage people to visit as much as possible. But you know, you're very right in the sense that online presence has become incredibly important for any kind of institution, for any kind of vision. People don't have time to visit museums anymore. People travel, people work, it's a shame. I always believe that nothing can escape the touch, the feel, the emotion of going to a museum. But of course, with future and with technology and with everything like that comes change, comes engaging, comes progress. As a collector, as I said before, having curated #abstract, I firmly believe in using Instagram, Facebook to find, to search, to research artists. But in order to, even though I did also make one of my first purchases from Instagram directly, and I saw it in my house for the first time afterwards. But nothing escapes coming to a fair, coming to a museum, coming and seeing and reading, and so we travel all the time and we always go to museums. But you're right, it's amazing. I didn't know that there were 90-odd million looking through Facebook, which is an outstanding number. It's really incredible. So then it also comes with the responsibilities of the museum. It comes to providing education, showing them and guiding them what they should be looking for, what they should be looking at, and how they should be. The user experience becomes more entertaining. As an event manager, for me, something in the virtual world can become fascinating because you're effectively portraying dreams and showing them what the possibilities are. So, the change, over the last 20, 30 years has been incredible.
You will speak of virtual reality, but I want to show you something to make you understand also how things are moving today. Karen has organized a lot of VR presentation, especially it was in Photo London, and also we presented the VR in Shanghai, New York, and many places. But I would like you to look at two reactions which I think are very interesting in the debate that we have. Si ça marche. Où j'en suis? Mon Dieu. Look at that. Can I have more sound? Excuse me, I'm going to take it back. It's okay for the sound?
So you just tried the VR museum. How are the first impressions?
For the first time?
Yes.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary?
Really extraordinary.
And yeah?
And I felt the sensation of travelling quite fast across the floor. I thought I was coming to a step where my feet would be sliced off. But not at all. I was still sitting in my chair.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you didn't feel any dizzy?
No, I didn't. No. And then we went to look at some of the pictures, or some of the big works of art, particularly the 50 steps.
Yes.
I went up to the top and looked down again. And then we went down into the lower floor. And that was an extraordinary sensation of going down a big circular tunnel.
You have different point of view with the VR.
I will show you
Whatever you want.
another statement, which is, I think, very interesting. It was in Shanghai. What did you like?
I like the motion we can move, and then we can look at the video, and we can read the word and the picture.
And you like the works?
Yeah,
Yeah? How old are you?
8.
Well, what is your name?
Victoria.
Wow. Thank you very much. She was capable to give me the name of all the works that she has seen in the museum. What I wanted to show with these two examples is that the new technology can respond to many issues. The first issue is old people who cannot move, or people who cannot move, or people who want to see today an exhibition in Shanghai, in New York. They will put the mask and they will be in New York and Shanghai. It's also about bringing the young people, the young generation, through art as a video game. Because virtual reality is a video game. So, using these new technologies and going beyond the white cube, it can considerably extend the audience and the experience of art. What do you think? And what after you think, Karen? Because you've been there for a long time.
No, I agree completely. I think that technology brings people together, technology educates more people. You know, we can be now, we can transport ourselves. I know that technology is advancing so much that I think they're creating something where we now can transport ourselves from one place to another and have meetings at the same time simultaneously throughout the world. So artificial intelligence is definitely the way forward. This is going to, you know, revolutionize the way art is seen, felt, read, and nurtured. So, you know, it's exceptional. It's really exceptional.
Karen, what was your experience of?
Yes, and so you've seen the videos of the Photo London, And it was interesting because the room next to us, there was actually an artist who actually used virtual reality to do art, to do his art, and it was an experience. Kamiar, you tried it, no? What did you think about it? Because we haven't tried. So just to say that the artists are also using this technology today, and I think it's most likely to be and more happening in the art world.
Our art is definitely, these days we found, even with #abstract, these days we found that artists are making more and more work that looks great virtually because it's easier to access. People will find more of a connection with it when they see it first. Of course, you can see it personally for yourself as well, but yeah, it's a new way. It's the
I wanted to ask in the room actually, how many of you have tried virtual reality? Okay, wow, so a lot of you have actually tried it. So I think not only in the fairs today, but in other industries as well, you see the virtual reality taking place, and I mean, as architects, interior designers, or fashion, as Dior did a show and had the virtual reality. I think it's not replacing the real, because the real is important and you need to see art, but I think it gives really more opportunities. And right now in London we are also working with the Virtual Reality Museum of DSL Collection to show it in universities, schools, in retirement houses as well, because I think this technology will bring and open to a public the idea and what you think.
And also, like, I want to add to that, the whole aspect of cataloging your artworks. I think that will change dramatically as well. I mean, there's apps out there like Magnus, for example, which does tell you information, but you don't have the physical aspect of cataloging it as advanced yet, like the music industry does, as we were talking before.
We'll talk
about that. Okay, so it's going to change how we interact and work with it.
So the first, in 1 hour we cannot redo the world or reinvent the future world. But what is interesting for us today, for the three, is to put on the table a certain number of issues. The first one was to open new spaces and to bring new people to these spaces. This was the first one. The second one, we are very interested with the DSL, especially for me, it's to find new ways to finance collection in museum. Because I will give you a number and you will understand how is crucial the situation today. Look at the number. It's a survey made by American Association of Museums. Okay, and it's about, I shall say, the economy of a museum. In a museum, the revenue per visitor is something like $3.70. If we add what people spend in the shop or in the restaurant, we go to $7, nearly $8. But every visitor costs $53. $53. So the model of the museum is a kind of endangered species, because the difference between the $53 and the $7 is very simple. It's patrons and public funds. Public funds are becoming lower and lower and lower, and today the biggest patrons, they have their own museum, and so they prefer to invest in their museum. So if we don't find a solution, the museum that we are experiencing today will be in a very great danger in the next 10 years. So this is also another issue that is on the table, and it brings me to what you said, and which is, I think, one of the solutions, is to go into the digital distribution. And if you look at, for instance, already an example, this Marina Abramovich performance 1,700 persons went to the show. 17 million persons went on YouTube. How can we have part of these people paying something to have the chance to be in front of Marina Abramovich? If we take the VR, tomorrow it took your mask, and you have the feeling that you are discussing with her, would you pay $2 for that? You will pay $2 for that. And so if only even 5 million people pay $2, it means that it can bring $10 million to a museum. So this is also an issue. And I will give you after, just to give you another example, we come to the music. Look at the music. Streaming is becoming the most popular way for people to discover music. Same thing with the cinema, with Netflix. But more and more people go to see concerts, and more people go to see films in the cinema. Because at the end of the story, the original work, or the original person as an artist, has a very strong symbolic value. And when you see something on digital, if you have the chance to see it on real, you go and you see it on real. So digital will not kill the real, but digital will bring to the real. And just to finish with this, and then we will discuss it. DSL, with the Virtual Reality Museum, already we have put our app on HTC, so people today can download it like any kind of video game. So you were talking about the digital experience. Do you think that people will be ready in the future to pay for culture and to pay for an experience in culture through digital tools?
Yeah, yes, I believe it's already starting. I mean, we have all of these websites which give us information, as I was saying, for example, with Magnus or ArtView or all these artsy, for different levels of experiences, you are already starting to pay different levels of subscriptions. So it's about content, it's about information provided, and the experience provided. So if, you know, like as you said with Netflix, you pay a certain amount for the services. So it's there, it's already starting, it's already moving, and I believe people are willing, as you said, to be close to Marina Abramovich, people are willing to pay that.
What do you think, Karen?
I think it's interesting because I saw recently that there was actually family business in the music industry that were the first one to start with the CD, and now they went on streaming, and they were showing the results on how much they have increased the access and the people who are watching or listening to music, and it's incredible because I think it's just a question for institutions or for people to get into virtual reality, but in a very, or I would say, organic way, or to find a way to have the real, but also the virtual. And this is going to be the next.
I mean, as you said, like in the movie world, it's also happening now. I think Will Smith recently just did a movie that was just streamed on Netflix, and that was one of the reasons they didn't accept it for the Cannes Film Festival or any other film festivals yet. But I think when you revolutionize something, it takes time to educate the people, but I think we live in a world right now where it's accepted.
Yeah, and you know, why the world is changing, from my point of view also, is that we are in a world of what I shall say, the experience economy. Today it's not just about using something, it's about the way you use it. Airbnb, Uber, today when people go to the museum, they want an experience. It's not just about contemplating an artwork. So we are in a time where we will go more and more in this kind of experience economy. And if you bring with the digital tool, this new type of experience, I think that people will be ready to follow because they are in this mood of not just contemplating, but also about, I think, also experiencing. So it will bring me to something very important, is that what is the master word is content. I think that whatever we will do in the digital or in the real world, what will be the game changer, the king, is not the hardware, is not the technology, but it's always the content. And if you bring an interesting content, you will have, instead of having 1,000 people coming into your building, you will have 1 million people visiting your website. So this is the issue for a collection, but also for a museum. So this is the second issue on which we are working today. And I think that what you've been doing with the hashtag and the way you are also promoting all that, I think we are totally in the same, I shall say, in the same, speak the same language. Yeah. What I would like to, the third theme for me, which is very important in the way we are moving DSL, but I think that you already put your finger with intelligent artificial intelligence, is what I shall call the fourth industrial revolution. Who has heard here, who has heard about the fourth industrial revolution? Okay, 2 persons. So just, I want you to look at that.
The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do all kinds of interesting things.
But that was followed by additional revolutions for electricity and computers and communications technology. We're now in the early stages of the fourth industrial revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
We are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution. And just to give you an idea of how complex it is, look at that. This is what you are today going to experience in the next 10 years. In the next 10 years, you will be a different human being. You will be different. Because you will have in your hand something like this, a computer which is capable in 40 days to learn 3,000 years of human culture. And you will have it in your hand. And not only you, but an African boy will have it in his hand. An Asian boy will have it in his hand. It means that this will have a huge consequences on how people will interact with art. This is something, and you've spoken of artificial intelligence. And you are right, you're totally right. I think that it's part of this absolutely complex world in which we are entering. And just to finish, to illustrate it, then after we discuss the subject, I want to show you something which is for me why I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because of that, because it can really open the world to many people who today doesn't have access to the world. I'm also optimistic because it can also bring people from all over the world to create in a new way. I'm also optimistic because look what's happening today in Thailand. 11 million people have access to art because of the digital and the virtual. But on the other hand, I'm a little bit afraid. And I will tell you why. I'm a little bit afraid because of that. Because we have had the British Empire, the French Empire, and now we have the Empire 2.0. We are today controlled by another type of empire. And this type of empire is this. And to fight against this, there is a way. And the way, for me, is this. The only thing that a computer cannot do, he cannot cry and he cannot smile. And the more we will be culture, the more we will go to art, to philosophy, to science, the more we will not become a robot, and we will be able to fight against this. And this is what we can do with art. We can be a kind of, antidote to this world in which we are entering. And I think that what it's very exciting today is that we can use technology to become better, but also we can stay what we are if, I think, we use, what makes us different from a robot. And so, what do you think that, how do you say you see you and Karen? Because I shall say, already looking at the future more than becoming part of the future. How do you see yourself in 10 years as a collector in this fourth industrial revolution and in this time that is coming? And Karen, I would like to have your answer on how do you project yourself in this kind of uncharted territory.
Well, I mean, as everything in life for me was, in order to have the power and the knowledge is power. So you have to adapt, otherwise you fall behind. And more and more, even I didn't use Instagram until 4 years ago or something like that. So it's now become such a daily part of our life that we can almost not imagine. BBM was like 3 years ago, and I was just looking at a BlackBerry today, and I was like, oh my God, So it's changing, and we have to evolve with it. And I think instead of being afraid of it, we have to embrace it, and we have to find ways to educate the masses about it as well. Being a fair director as well in a country where politics and economics and difficult situations make it harder for people to access art. It's about making art accessible to people. And that's where the joy is, that's where the fun is, that's where the experience are based. And, one can, virtually, one can create crazy experiences. And of course, as we always say, you can never replace it, but at least you can be there and be now. Even streaming this talk, we don't know how many people are listening, are watching, are engaging with us not being here. So imagine if we have everybody having virtual reality over, just in discussions and dialogues, and it's
I still prefer the glasses of Levy Kamiar. Karen, since you are the art of the centuries follower, how do you feel that
I think what
you can give the spirit of Peggy in this 21st century?
I think, anyway, when I started to think of a future in my company, I definitely thought about Peggy Guggenheim, because she was, I think she all inspires, and she has a museum. But now she's on Instagram with her museum. So you see that the technology is definitely also happening for an institution like the Peggy Guggenheim. But I would say that I think what Kamiar said about having the real experience, but having experience is extremely important, especially when you start. I think in the art world you collect, you've been collecting, but you need to be fearless, I think, and there are definitely technologies that are going to arrive more and more. When we went to China the first time, we had a shock, and my father was before they were collecting with my parents, modern art or design, and they discovered the culture, and we saw that art was also the mirror of a society, and we felt the energy of China and Asia. And I think this is important when you decide to go and collect, or when you, in any industries you are, to have a discovery, to have a shock, And in the future, I think this is extremely important to keep this discovery happening, and also to have like wonderful collectors like Kamiar. I mean, we see each other a lot because, of course, we bump on each other in London, I think, all the time. But also we travel to art fairs, and we, with Alexandra, also travel together to China, and for her as well, to start Asia now was a real experience. So I think, you know, you can't plan it when you will start with art, or Chinese art, or Asian art, or contemporary art. But I think what's interesting is to meet collectors, to meet people around the world, to travel together and to exchange. And I think this is part of the fourth revolution.
Yeah. I think we have something like 9 minutes or 10 minutes, I don't know. Is there any question? I think we just wanted today to just put on the table issues that we consider interesting if we want to try to project the collection, not just only as amassing objects, but relating also art to the life in which we are. I think the advantage of contemporary art is to be part of contemporary life. And so we have to connect if we want to have a meaningful, I shall say, life, not just object, to have to connect it. And we just have put it 3 subjects which are quite important already on the table. So are there any questions? Or yeah.
Hello, I'm Igor Balost. I try it in English. You've talked about the digital as a media, and I would like to have to know what you think about the digital as the pure content of art, because we are artists. For me, we are a gallery involved in digital art and working in 2 directions. The first direction is to create art, pure digital art. But not only in the installations, but art that could roam on the web, but keep the identity of real art. And we are working on the way to do that, to keep something authentic and maybe rare by connecting different people together in the same work of art. And we are also working on the idea of rematerializing the digital relation by connecting different places in real time, all the time, with digital. So we are open to pure digital, but also working to develop the reality of the relation. What do you think?
Your expertise.
No, I don't have any expertise. Perhaps I could have a bad answer or a good answer, I don't know. You know, it's interesting what you say, but let's have a bigger view of what's happening today. Because you are speaking about, as an artist, using digital tools. You know, when we speak of the art market, it's the painting market. 80%, 85% of what is sold in auction is painting.
Yeah, definitely we also diffuse paintings in
No, I mean,
space.
85% is what is sold is painting. 85% of what is produced today is not painting, in art. So, when we speak of the art market, it's not the art market, it's the painting market.
Yeah.
And the painting market has nothing to do with the art of today. It's something different. It's part of the art of today, but it has not to become the art of today. And so, I think we'll have a bright future, keep on doing digital, because the young generation, they will connect to the digital. They will connect to the digital more than just paintings. They will always stay paintings, because paintings give a very different aesthetic emotion. But for the young generation, there is other things. and especially what you're doing. So keep on doing, try to last, to survive, because in your case, when you produce videos, it's more about surviving than becoming rich and famous. But I do believe there is a future for artists who has this talent.
And probably for some kind of is that correct, of a hybrid kind of art, associating old style painting and pure digital and IA and so on.
Even more. I think even more. So keep on.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Mr. Levy and Karen, of course, as well. And keep on coming to the fair. It's very important. Don't just stay at home, but VR is certainly the future. So thank you very much for being here.
One is the future. Peggy Graham is the future.
Thank you.